they've got to rest on the same hammer rest rail that the whites are resting on. So I use the gauge to set the key dip on the sharps.
Same gauge.
The same gauge, same 80 thousandths.
How do you do that?
Okay. Do you want to talk about it?
No, you do it.
Okay. So you've got way too much. Hopefully, you've got way too much aftertouch on the sharps. You put that gauge in there, and it's still letting off, even though you've got that gauge in there. So there's probably, I don't know, 150 or more. So you add punchings until when you have the gauge in, push that sharp down. The jack should just barely start to let off when it bottoms out on the gauge.
It's front rail punchings, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right, front rail punchings. Okay, so that way you've got more or less. Well, okay, on the sharps you will have 80 thousandths consistently because you're setting the dip according to the gauge. The sharps are going to be, like we talked about a few minutes ago, hit or miss. But the sharps will be pretty consistent because you're doing the gauge. And all of that is on that checklist. Any questions about that?
He doesn't play anything in flats. He only plays in sharps.
Yeah, right. Okay, and then the final parts of regulation, aligning dampers and spoons.
Do you ever have a problem aligning the old dampers? I mean, if you change the alignment of them?
Okay, that's a good question. That's a good question. So sometimes if you're looking down at the strings, you've got 3 strings, you'll have the impression of the belt like that. It'll kind of hang over. You've got your damper block here. Okay, and this string is free to ring. There are a couple things I do for that. Sometimes, especially when I'm working for a customer, what I'll do is I'll take this off and I'll peel a layer of damper felt off. And these layers are like that. And usually if you peel just one layer off, you've got a nice flat surface, so that when you move this whole thing over, you've got a new flat surface. What I do in the shop is I just have sets of pre-cut felts with the red backing already on. So I'll take the damper head off and just slice it with a razor. Just get as clean as you can. Put the damper head back on, and then I use PVC glue and use the damper as a clamp for your glue.
If you remove a layer, does it affect the pressure?
A little bit, yeah. Yes, and sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, yeah, when you remove a layer, sometimes you have to change the damper spoon, or you have to change the forward aft of the damper. Yeah.
Do you do that way enough at the end of the journal? Or you it's like you know, when you have the weights on the dampers to see if they have enough pressure with the spring.
I saw that.
You tried that?
I never have. That was the first I saw it this month.
Have you ever noticed a problem with your piano that you worked on? Whether was there enough spring or too much spring? Or
You know, I have strengthened springs before to improve the dampening. But no, I haven't gotten that meticulous where I'm measuring the weight of.
And then he was just talking about if you have more mass in the actual head, that you need less spring. And I'm just curious if anyone's checking with that at all.
Yeah, that's. Jim has.
I did a whole set in Irene's Gray Foxes because they play so loud, and all of our students, that the the stock Steinway dampers won't, and this is in a gram, won't overcome that, and they will not contain it. So I put 2 weights, 2 leads in each one of the damper heads, put it back in, and you say, well, why don't you put it in the bottom? And I thought, well, it was just easier for me because I already had 3 leads in the bottom, and so I put them there. And then about 2 weeks later, Delfondric writes on there, this is what you do. You put leads in there. I thought, yes, 1 in a row. And it worked. Yeah, it's not much. How many grams is little ones, Vinny? They're like 5, 4? Yeah. And so 2 of them is 6 grams you put in here. But it's more, it works better in the top than it does in the bottom. It really does. With an upright, well, go ahead, never mind, sorry.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, but hold on.
Do you have any panels that are done, like, in the vicinity yet? Or right now, are you redoing it because you sold out at Christmas?
They're
You're
all
probably
sold.
in process right now.
That's good, man.
Well,
Sell those people.
yeah, that's what you gotta do. Yeah, so if you want, I'd be happy to share the checklist with you. And if you want to email me, if I'm forgetting something, like I said, feel free. I was going to say something else. I don't know what it was. Okay, thanks.
Brigham, did you have a sign of this?
Right here, you can worry about.